Yeah, I'm gonna record it right now and upload it. So I'm recording right now.
Yeah, but
Like,
upload it.
yeah, like now, when it's done. I'm trying to lead by example, guys. Get your work done early. Okay, so let's look at this triangulation. So if we did this manually, right? So one thing is to take care is definitely use your layers. So this might be like, Surfo 1, try, whatever you want to call it. We can give it a color. And again, for surface, in this case, you're using corner points, right? So we use curved networks to create those curved surfaces. Now we're using corner points to sort of triangulate. And what I'm doing here, this is manual work. We can decide like how much we want to sort of simplify the geometry. And what I'm doing is picking 3 points, right? And then hitting enter. Now the reason I'm using triangle is because we know when we flatten this, we're guaranteed that it's going to lay flat. Okay? And there will be no air in the surface. So after we do this, we have our triangulated form. We can take this and just reuse the join command. Right? And then if we use the unroll command, we want to say explode no. We can label it yes, and then hit enter. So as soon as we're done with that, we'll have our unrolled geometry, which represents, number one, the edge condition, right? And we know if we cut this out and assemble it with the other pieces, we'll start to join. So let's keep on going with the other pieces, right? So that's the simplest setup. Now if we want to, we have more to deal with, right? We have this piece as well. Now what we can do is attempt to join this with this. Triangulate this and then join them together, all right? And see what happens. It's going to eventually split. It's going to have to. But let's go ahead and turn off. Let's make another layer. Let's turn that off. And let's start to triangulate this. Let's actually copy this over. And then we have to decide, how are we going to evaluate this now, right? Because there's actually like an interesting sort of tightness happening here. So which way would we run our triangles? Well, I'm going to actually run them, like this is one that we might want to split again in half because of what's happening towards the center of this. So we can do this. A couple things we can do is we can create a UV curve on a surface. Let's do it by, not that way. Let's see if we can. I don't want to trim it. I don't want to. Let's see if we can. That's splitting in that direction. Sorry guys, it's saving. Curve from object. Extract iso curve. We select the surface. I have it on, let's put it on U. So that's U. So that's running in the Y direction of the surface. And we can pick and click, and now we have a line there. Okay? Now why is that line critical? We need something to snap to do the triangulation. All right? So we're really creating another seam on this thing at that point. We can try to reseam it later, but because of the complexity of this, we have to sort of try to simplify it. So from here now, I can start doing the surface corner points. Now what should I be doing? What's the mistake I'm doing? What I want to do is turn, this is where we need to have, oops, sorry. We need to have this on. Let me just delete that for now. We do need to have this on, and we're going to hide that. Why do I need this on? Why do you think I need this on? Because I want to snap to those points. Yeah, I want to line this stuff up. Okay? So this is important for that. So from here now, I can go to surface corner points. Yeah. Let me double check. Yep. Okay. So now I have that surface. And now I'm going to go and do this top surface. Now this will be really tricky because I'm going to a point per se. So it's not going to do exactly maybe what we want it to do, but it'll be close. Let's actually name that. That should have been 2, sorry. Yeah, we could have split this one more time, but let's not overdo it. So this is really going to alter that edge, obviously. At this point, I almost don't even need this surface anymore, because I know I'm going from that point. Did I pick the wrong point there? Get rid of nearest. Okay, so now we have that triangulated. If we take all of these, let's go ahead and copy them, and we join them, we can join them into one geometry. And now if we do an unroll, explode no, let's not even label it for right now, let's just see what happens. We can see what's happening, right? So this is what you guys were getting, where it was collapsing on top of itself. So it doesn't work, right? As one sort of piece. Some parts work. So let's see what works, what doesn't work. So what we're going to do is unroll these individually. This is where the labels are actually helpful, so let's do it with labels. Yeah, they don't line up. Yeah, but we can see, like, we know 1 is there, right? So we know 3. There's only a few that we're going to need to know is 3. So eventually we're going to see when so we're going to join, we have to join these, right? So once we unroll this, okay, so we're looking for 18. There's 18, right? So we have 16, and we knew that was also 3. Okay? So we know 16 lines up with 3. So one of these are flipped. I think this needs to be mirrored. Let me see. So that's 18. That's 16. That's 13. That's 7. And that's 7. Okay. So this shape, like somehow this thing got flipped. You guys see that? So what we can do is just mirror that, and we know 16 goes to here, right? Well, because these are curling in and this is curling in, I think they're going to intersect. Let's go to a top view. So I'm trying to like connect the two. But let's go ahead and so that's not going to work, right? So I'm orientating the two together. So I know that will not work because they're intersecting. Okay. So I know I can't line up 16. There's really nothing I can line up here together. That needs to be a real true seam. That has to be cut separate. Okay. But we can put the point there, right? So we can rotate this for now about that point. And we know eventually these come together. So that will come together. Is this making sense? But now let's check the last part. Let's see if we can get this piece to do something. Oops, sorry. So we'll go ahead and join this. We'll go ahead and unroll. And, you know, this thing actually flattened out like we expected it might. We know that's 17 and 0, so 17 and 0 go together. So let's go to a top view. So there's 0, I'm going to use orient. So orient, I can pick the object, pick first point, second point, and then target point. Okay, so I was able to get those two together, but the rest are separate. So if I were to print this now, you know, all I would need to do is cut along there. Obviously, we couldn't get these two together. So this would be a piece, this would be a piece, but then I can assemble it. So if we were to continue like on this side, some of these surfaces might actually be able to join that. So I'm trying to tear it apart and then piece it back together. So when you guys are seeing sort of that's what's sort of happening. Like, depending on how you pick the seams and what type of techniques you have, you should be able to get a pretty like snake-like piece that will eventually come together. You got to keep track of what goes where. So I don't mind if you guys tag these like with numbers. Like, it's okay, these are studies. It's not like, they're not for gallery yet. So you can tag them. Like, say, you know what I mean? You want to say, like, pencil 0, 0, 1, 1. So you understand what goes together. Because that's where it can be confusing. And that's where the stitching's actually good, because you can sort of tack it with a stitch and sort of get this thing aligned end to end, and then come back and really go through. So to work faster is you can stitch all these edges. You can glue them too and hold them and keep on working through, but if you make a mistake, you just glued it. If you stitched it wrong, you can cut it. Right? So until you become experts, sewing might not be a bad technique. So let's keep on going. Let's do one more thing. All right, because we know eventually we might have another surface. So I'm just going to go ahead and make another curve here. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to layer 1. Network curve. Okay, so now we have those two. So a couple ways I can triangulate this one. Let's just go ahead and copy these over. Obviously we're losing that edge completely there, right? So this edge is flat, which is good, because I'm just going to triangulate then to this edge and go that way. So this is where this really gets simplified. So let's go ahead and make a new layer. So you can sort of see that's going to totally disappear, and that little flap is disappearing, so it goes flat. So if we start with our triangulation, we can go with our corner points again. In this case, I'm going to really simplify this. Okay, just 3 triangles there. I'm going to give this a little bit more dimension here. Okay, so I can hide that. Okay. So let's try to join all of this, see what happens. Let's unroll it. Oops. So it did fold on itself right there. But everything else actually is together. I'm just going to go ahead and just try and see. So that's 1, and I think that's 11. Yep. So 1 and 11 go together. And this will happen sometimes, depending on how you triangulate them. You have to flip or mirror the geometry because it's laying the other way. So I'm going to mirror that. And then I'll orient it. I'm going 11 to 1. Now this doesn't work exactly well because, you know, we do have an overlap right here. But what we can do is explode this. Sorry, ungroup it. And we can eliminate that. Okay. And say, okay, I want to try to keep, so we know these two go to, right? 18 and 10 go together, 1 and 7 go together. We could do that, or we can also just say, you know what, we need to move this. Like all these surfaces. It's always hard to get the controls. Alright, so now we separated that piece. And I'm going to try to orient this geometry. Okay, that's looking promising because what I can do now is, I mean, those points will never intersect anyways. But I can just move. Okay, so these now have to be 2 pieces. But at least this piece is more together now. But eventually I might be able to hook this up with something else. So you have all these pieces that you're trying to assemble. These go together. Yeah, so this there's 2 6s here. So this 6, like some of the numbers line up because we use the same surface, so these are together. 10 goes with 18, 4 goes with 10, 5 goes with 8, 3 goes with 7. 1 goes with 22. Yeah, unfortunately, because we did it individual, the numbers don't line up, but you can see it on the model where they line up. But the idea is that if you keep on working this, eventually you'll make almost like one continuous shape. You'll probably won't be able to make one full shape. This is one full shape. It's a lot of work because I go back and then I tweak the areas that are overlapping to force them to make one shape. It doesn't have to be one shape. It can be 3. The nice thing about one shape, you're just working with one piece that you're assembling. Not necessarily, it won't be harder, but just an extra, like if it falls upside down, or you gotta keep track of what's side up, what goes where. Where there, you're maybe just working, if you just work from one end to the other, it just goes together, you know, where you don't have to eventually line them up again. So if you just work from one end and go around, it's just by default, until you hit an opening, as long as you know it's an opening, it's alright. Okay? Making sense? Yes? Okay, so that's sort of the first part. So that's surface. So let's stop.